Hi, everyone. There's a little mix-up right now with the stream. So StreamYard would not connect to the stream that was in YouTube, so I had to cancel it and start a new one as it told me to. So I did. So I will wait for some of you guys to come over. I just left a message in the other stream to say that StreamYard will not connect. Okay, yous are finding me. Good, good, good. Hi, Sue. Hi, Camilla. Hi, Mildred. Hi, Joyous. Nice to see you all. Want to make sure I see all the comments coming in on the other one, too. I'll give a few minutes because I know there's some. I did see others in the other stream, quite a few people. So we'll just wait and let them get over here. Maybe what I'll do is play the intro again while we're waiting. And by the time that's over, I'm sure we'll have a few people in here. That's awful. I had my stage all set up. I had a poll ready to go. Yeah. And then that happened. I'll rewrite the poll while the intro's playing again. So we'll play the intro again. If I can find it. There it is. All right, it looks like you guys are here now. So sorry about that, guys. That was bizarre. That was bizarre. Sorry, I'm trying to play. Thanks, guys, for coming over here. I apologize for that. First of all, I received an email from Ginger telling me that I had 9 lives posted. And of course, I did not do that. That's a mishap of StreamYard. And so I had to go in and delete, 7 of them. I think it was 9. I can't remember, Ginger, if you said it was 6 or 9. But anyways, of course, I had to delete all of them but 2. And I guess the 2 that I left remaining were not the actual ones that were connected to StreamYard. So that's what happened there. So then it wouldn't connect. So thank you all for coming over. Ariel, I said hi to some of you already. Ariel, thanks for being here. Ginger, thank you so much. I didn't expect you to be here, and I appreciate it. Liz, thank you so much for being here. And Joyce, we have Joyous and Joyce. And Laura. And Julia. And little a black bear. And I did get your email. I don't think that worked, but please do not worry about it, please. And thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. Donna, hi. Thank you for being here. Detective Tam, not Detective Tom. Tam. I've said Detective Tom before. Going down. Kevin, hello. Hi. Thank you for being here. I think this is the first time I've seen you here, and we appreciate having you here. So I did start a poll there. I hope you guys can see it. Is it uncommon for a parent of a missing child to not speak publicly? So I can't see who's voting. So if you'd like to give your, and I shouldn't say vote. It's not a vote, but it's an answer, right? What are your thoughts? Do you think that is a common thing, that parents don't always speak out, or is that an uncommon thing, that, typically a parent speaks out, and if they don't, that would be uncommon, right, for us to see? I'm curious as to what people's thoughts are, because I will share my thoughts with you when we get to that. And we are going to talk about that today. First, we're going to hit on Kenley Matheson, as you've seen in the thumbnail. And welcome, everyone. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back. I so appreciate having you all here, and I'm happy to be on today with you all. Some of you would have caught me last night with Shan, and I did talk about a couple of things that I was going to touch on today as well. I probably won't go too in depth, being that I discussed it on Shan's, but I probably still lightly will talk about it. So I do appreciate having you here. So first, we're going to start with Kenley. You would have seen Kenley in the thumbnail. And there's quite an update to Kenley's case that I'd love to share with you all. So Alan Kenley Matheson, age 20 years, last seen September 21st, 1992, Main Street, Wolfville, Nova Scotia, and there's a $150,000 reward. And Kenley was attending Acadia University in Wolfville when he went missing. And I believe that would be 34 years ago now. and has not been seen, excuse me, has not been seen since. Hi, Cassandra. Thank you for being here. It probably depends on scenario. If they think they've been taken versus knowing there's no kidnapper you're pleading with. Well, true, but typically when oopsie, typically when a person goes missing, and that's what we're going to get into after we discuss Kenley and we move on. But I mean, in Kenley's case as well, and his loved ones, because it's no different. They don't know where Kenley is. They don't know if something nefarious took place. They don't know if he was abducted. They don't know, did he leave on his own? Because you don't know. And that's what we're going to get into. So, with that in mind, if someone goes missing and their loved ones do not have those answers because you don't, you have no concrete answer, what are you left with? But yes, if I don't know, when someone goes missing, do you ever know? I don't know. But anyways, we'll get into that. We're gonna talk about Kenley first. But I mean, that would pertain to his case as well, and his mother and his sister, who have been advocates in his case, big time advocates. Yeah, Detective Tam, absolutely, very heartbreaking, very heartbreaking. Sarah and Kareem. Yeah. And so what I want to do first, I have my stage already, guys, like ready. And of course, because of what happened, I lost everything that I had up here. So I will have to get it all ready again. The first thing I want to do is go over a reminder with you guys. If you guys watched my live about Kenley, you would have, okay, why is that not sharing? If you guys watched my live about Kenley, which I did do, and we have one of the searchers on with us, Steve Staples, and he was having discussions with us on the case. And Shan joined me, and we did a live on that with Steve. And that's the other update I'm going to give you on that. Actually, I think we'll start off with that one with what Steve, well, I'll just tell you. So he did contact me. He let me know, Steve Staples, the things that they did unearth in the Melanson Mountain area, where they have been vigorously searching for Kenley, searchers with cadaver dogs. They unearthed quite a bit of things, and those things are now being turned into our CMP. And he wanted to let me know that because we were talking about that when he was on the live with us, and he was being very cautious and kind of strategic on who he was going to have that discussion with amongst the RCMP, and you'll understand why when I get into this other update. And so he is going to be speaking with he was speaking with a couple of sergeants who we will be meeting with to hand over those objects so they can do what they need to do with those objects to see if it does pertain to Kenley's case. So fingers crossed for that they may find something out there with those objects that they unearthed. Some of you that watched that live may remember, excuse me, the shoe. some things like that. Just give me a second. Can bring that shoe up again. Just to give you an idea of some of the things that they have unearthed. And of course, I mean, they don't know if any of it has to do with Kenley, but it would certainly be nice if it did. Okay, so I have to take Kenley's poster down. That's why nothing's coming up on my screen, because it's actually there. And this will just give you an idea. Yeah, so there you can see that's the inside of the shoe. And this is some of the stuff we went over in the live that we had did. So you see that they unearthed that. That was buried. Or wait now, I don't think that was buried, or maybe it was. I can't remember. I apologize. Some of the stuff was buried, some of it wasn't. But there was, there's quite a bit of stuff that they had come across. Yeah. You guys can see that okay? Hi, Just the Facts, ma'am. Anybody else new that came in that I missed? Hello, and thank you for being here. So another thing I'm going to bring up, we'll take that down. That's just to give you an idea. Now, if you want to go back to the video about Kenley that we did with Steve Staples, you'll see quite a bit of stuff that was unearthed in that video. So I just want to refresh your memory from that video as to who Ron Lamothe is, in case you don't know, because we are going to discuss some information from him. Now, I'll make that bigger in case you guys cannot see it. And that is Kenley there, by the way, in that picture. So in 1992, a 20-year-old Canadian college student named Kenley Matheson disappeared without a trace. Almost 20 years later, a mysterious email would launch Associate Professor Ron Lamothe on a decade-long search for answers that would take more twists and turns than an Agatha Christie novel, and that is true. The result is Missing Kenley. Now, Missing Kenley is I think it's a 5 or 6 part documentary that we had discussed. So just a refresher as to who Ron Lamothe is, because now I'm going to share with you guys the most recent information about him regarding 2 people, curious individuals who were at one time unnamed, but Ron has figured a lot of stuff out. And so I'm going to share with you what he found out, and it's very interesting. It's a bit of a story. So grab your tea, your coffee, whatever it is you want to drink, and listen, because we're going to do a little bit of a story time here with me as your host telling the story, but Ron Lamothe's words. And I want to put that up there so nobody thinks that it's myself Where are my banners at? I don't want anybody to think that when I'm using the word I, that it's me that I'm referring to, because it's not. I am referring to Ron Lamothe. Okay, so we'll take that up. Now, can you guys see that okay? Well, you can't because there's nothing there, is there? To me, that looks very small, so I'm not sure if you guys can see that okay. No. What about now? I don't know if I can make it any bigger. I tried my best to make it bigger. You can see it, yeah. What about this? That makes it a little bit bigger. Okay, now I'm going to be over to the, yeah, it is a bit small, Joyous, isn't it? I just made it a little bit bigger. I don't know how else. That's the biggest I can make it, guys. I apologize. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to be over on the other page reading this. I'll come back every old garden gal. Hi, thanks for being here, Lynn. Thank you for being here. Anybody I missed, I apologize, and thank you for being here. I'm going to be over at the other page, but I'll come back every once in a while because this is a little. I mean, it's not horrifically long, but it's long enough that if I lose you guys, I want to make sure I know in time enough and I'm not reading like a fool to nobody. So, okay, I'm going to go over and I will be back. So this is from Ron Lamothe. So it was sent to me by somebody else, and I don't know if she wants me to say her name, so I'm not going to, but it is written by Ron Lamothe, and it was put in the Finding Kenley Facebook site. But anytime I say I, that is Ron who's stating I, because I'm reading his words, what he wrote. And that's why I put written by Ron Lamothe there, so nobody thinks that when I say I'm referring to myself, because I'm not. So we'll get started. Thought some folks here, especially those who do not do Twitter, X, might be interested in the information in this recent post on a meeting I had last summer with Medford Guptill, pasted below. Update, meeting with Medford Guptill. My sincere apologies at the outset in the terms of the length of this post. However, given the nature of this case, it is my belief that it's better to provide every detail that emerges with the public in hopes that someone might see something or make a new connection that helps move the investigation forward. I will have some recommendations at the very end as to what still needs to be done by investigators and a way for us to hold them accountable and also provide new leads. To begin, one of the nagging loose ends for me in the Kenley Matheson case has always been Medford Guptill. Now remember, Ron Lamothe, who is writing this, these are his words, he is the one who did the journalism on this. And very, very detailed, very good investigative journalism he did, and then wrote and did the documentary. Okay, so and that's who's speaking here. Okay, so in a way for them to be, in the beginning, one of the nagging loose ends for me in the Kenley Matheson case has always been Medford Guptill. His name, as well as the name Stanley Hiltz, was among those found in Kenley's dorm room on October 10th, 1992. It should be noted. It should be noted that the piece of paper on which Guptill's and Hilt's names were written was either never taken into evidence or was removed from the case file, for it seems to have disappeared, which is unfortunate because it prevents us from analyzing the handwriting. Now, think about that. These names were written on a piece of paper in Kenley's dorm room. And Kenley is the one who went missing. Kind of important. That's me saying that. The typewritten WOLFVILLE police timeline, which was created from the handwritten continuation. Jeez, I don't know why I struggled with that word. Which was created from the handwritten continuation and supplementary reports, lists two names under the category of other on April 8th, 1991. Some 6 months after Kenley went missing, Medford Guptill from Hants Border, Nova Scotia, name found in Kenley's room, and Stanley E. Hiltz. Now he's quoting what was written in the police report. And Stanley E. Hiltz from West Hants Harbor, Nova Scotia, name found in Kenley's room. For the Guptill entry, that's all that is there. For Hilt's one, however, there is a little more information. CPIC, check on Hiltz, noted in file. Drug-related, ? No contact with Hiltz. Now, again, that's quotation of what was in the police report. It has always been unclear to me whether or not the WOLFVILLE police constables associated with this entry. It's always been unclear to me whether or not the WOLFVILLE police constables associated with this entry. Keith McKillop and John Goss actually met or spoke with either man. Let me read that again. It doesn't sound right. It has always been unclear to me whether or not the WOLFVILLE police constables associated with this entry, Keith McKillop and John Goss, actually met or spoke with either man. Did no contact with Hiltz mean that they had been unsuccessful in contacting him? Or did it mean that they spoke with Hiltz and that he told them he'd had no contact with Kenley? And were McKillop and Goss successful in contacting Guptill? The timeline entry gives no indication. And I'm going to show you guys that. I actually have a picture of it, and I apologize. Like I said, I had this picture up, and then when things all went wonky on me there, I lost it. But I actually have that. I will share it with you. Okay, so you guys see that there? I can't make it any bigger, but that is the file copy, the entry he's talking about there. Yeah, so everything's good. Hi, Snoop. Olive, hi. Hi to anybody else I missed. All right, I'm going to go back over. Looks like you guys are all good and I'm not disconnected. After this here part, it gets really good. Okay. Okay, successful in calling out. The timeline entry gives no indication. Okay. Yeah, so what were they successful in contacting Guptill? The timeline entry gives no indication. When interviewed by RCMP Constable Kerry Campbell in 2014, who was the lead investigator on the case at the time and remained so until he was replaced by Troy Allen. Now, this is important. Listen to this. Until he was replaced by Troy Allen in 2016, when Allen's second cousin, Aaron Smith, formerly known as Jason Kenney. Now, if you watched what the video that I did before, we discussed Aaron Smith, Jason Kenney, same person. Okay, used to be Jason Kenney, is now a female named Aaron Smith, and is the main suspect in this case. I shouldn't use the word suspect, but person of interest in this case. Okay, so what he's saying here, the new investigator that was put on the case in 2016 is the cousin of who is now Aaron Smith, used to be Jason Kenney. And that would be why Steve Staples was very careful on who he would be meeting with and passing on any possible evidence to in the RCMP, if that makes sense. If you follow me, if you're picking up when I'm laying down. Okay, so when Allen's second cousin, Aaron Smith, formerly Jason Kenney, became a new person of interest following a Crime Stoppers tip. And by the way, that Crime Stoppers tip was his whole family, mother's side of the family, including his mother. I was told that there was nothing in the case files linking either of these two individuals to Kenley's disappearance. No one else I ever interviewed for missing Kenley had any knowledge of them either, including the two former WOLFVILLE constables who were directly involved with those specific entries, both of whom could not remember anything further about that cryptic note in the WPD timeline, WPD, WOLFVILLE Police Department. Whatever the case, for years and years, I wondered about these two men and why Kenley had them in his dorm room. And for many years, I tried to find both men, but to no avail. Hiltz now lives in Ontario, I believe, and I have tried to contact him several times over the years, and also through his sister, and have never received a reply. When it came time for the docuseries to be released in September 2022, I very purposely and prominently juxtaposed a WPD, WOLFVILLE Police Department, timeline entry that showed these two names as B-roll, and that would be like he's talking about his tape roll, right? There's the A tape, the B tape. The A tape is the good one. The B tape has other stuff on it. So the B tape over my interview with former WOLFVILLE Police Constable Stephen Van Herk. So he's being a little sneaky there, right? Trying to poke some nerves. Oops, did I? Sorry, guys, I lost my spot there. Okay, sorry, I accidentally clicked back one. Owner of the B-roll, former with Stephen Van Herk. When entry that showed these two names of the B-roll, WOLFVILLE Police Constable Stephen. When he mentioned jotting down some names found in Kenley's room. So he's basically trying to make them think, you know, he's being sneaky, right? To see if it's gonna jolt anything. It was my hope that someone someday might see that image and contact me via the missing Kenley tip line. There you go. My first tip on Medford Guptill via an anonymous email came in a month later. In October 2022, I was given a phone number of Guptill that turned out to be no longer in service. That was then followed up by an actual home address a couple months later, provided to me by this same anonymous tipster. On my next trip up to Nova Scotia, he lives in the States, by the way, for the cadaver dog search of Melanson Mountain in May 2023, I went to the Hansport address, but was told that Medford Guptill no longer lived there. None of his neighbors I spoke with knew where he was currently living. It appeared to be another dead end. But then I received an anonymous email a few months later that gave me a new address in nearby Aylesford, presumably where he had moved to after leaving Hansport. Life got in the way for quite a while, and I had to sit on that new lead until last summer. When I returned to Nova Scotia for the first time since the Melanson search, an important story in its own right, much of it documented in other posts. And that's what we touched on. Like I said, Shannon and I had Steve on my channel, and he discussed the searches with us and the things that they found. And I just gave you another update from him there. He's in touch with our CMP now. So the first day I went to this new address, no one was home, but there were some indications that someone was living there. I also noticed as I got back into my car several security cameras mounted on the house and property. And so I assumed whoever lived there would soon see video of me and my vehicle and its MA plates. Perhaps wondering who it is, perhaps even figuring it out. In any case, the following morning, after 13 long years of trying to find him, I finally stood face to face with the one and only Guptill, now 79 years old, the man whose name was found in Kenley's dorm room 33 years earlier. So this would have been in 2025. This took place, so not that long ago. Excuse me. What follows is a strictly factual account of our meeting and what he said. And I will leave it to the readers. So right now, you guys, the listeners, because I'm reading it to you, of this post to make their own inferences and draw their own conclusions. The description below is based on detailed notes I took in its immediate aftermath. Some extraneous parts of the conversation have been left out for brevity's sake. Okay, I'm going to go over and check on you guys, make sure I am still connected. Looks like I am. Hello to everyone else who has come in. Cool J, Angelina, thanks for being here. Snoop. I'm hearing Troy Allen has been on stress leave since the documentary came out. Huh. Well, I wouldn't doubt that. Interesting, eh? Interesting. I mean, something like that shouldn't cause anyone stress. It's quite easy to say, I'm related to a possible person of interest the person of interest in this case. I need to hand this off to somebody else, right? I've had to do that as a nurse. It's just what you have to do. If I'm being a relative, knowing someone in my family, possibly unalive someone, I just could not live with myself. Yeah, I couldn't be a part of that investigation for sure, right? Hi, Shan. Thanks for being here. Just going over some updates on Kenley's case. Some Interesting information from Ron Lamothe, the producer and director and investigative journalism of Missing Kenley. It's interesting, very interesting. Okay, so I'm going to go back over there, guys, and continue on now that I see I'm still connected and you're all doing great over there. Okay. When I arrived at Guptill's Aylesford Lake home on August 1st, 2025, I parked on the road and walked up the driveway rather than driving straight in as I'd done the day before. Yeah, well, I would do that too, right? Because you don't want him to notice you this time with all the cameras. When I knocked on the door, Guptill opened it with a big smile and said, "Hello." Interesting. I asked him, "Are you Medford?" He replied, "Yes, I am. Come on in." He did not wait for me to introduce myself before inviting me into his home, and he did not ask me who I was before doing so. Once inside, I told him my name and said I was working on a missing persons case from the 1990s and trying to speak with anyone I could. Anyone I could to find out who might know something. As we began discussing the case, he never once asked, "Why are you coming to me?" As will be demonstrated below, he already knew. And that's in Ron's opinion, but probably a very well-educated opinion. I began by asking him if he'd heard of Kenley Matheson or was familiar with his disappearance. He said, "I've seen the posters, but that's all I know about." I then asked him if he knew a guy named Jason Kenney. After a long pause, he said, "Jason Kenney, not that I can recall right now." I asked if he knew Jason's father, Bill Kenney, who was a little better known in WOLFVILLE. Well, yeah, because he was I think he was either the sheriff or the chief of police or maybe both. So he'd definitely be well known. He told me that he knew Kennys, who were farmers, who had a farm at the end of Maple Avenue in WOLFVILLE. I asked him if he knew that family. He said he knew of them, but not personally. I asked him about where he lived and worked back in 1992. He said that he worked in Hants Border, and worked at Keith's Fiber for many years, and then in 1992 got a job working at the Youth Correctional Center in Waterville as a guard. He said that he worked there for 11 years. Well, there's a good job. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we haven't heard very good things in Nova Scotia. He then brought the conversation back to the Kennys and said again, "I can't say I do know any more Kennys." Medford's partner, Linda, in trying to figure out if her son may have known Jason Kenney, began wondering where Jason went to school. At which point Medford asked her in a familiar tone, "Jason?" I then clarified that Jason did indeed go to Horton High School. I then asked Medford if he owned any other properties besides his former residence in Hantsport. He told me that he had owned some vacant land in West Brooklyn. I asked him what he did with that land and if he ever farmed or cultivated anything on that property. He told me his father did back 75 years ago. I then asked if he knew anybody up on Melanson Mountain back in the 1990s, and this is where they continuously search for Kenley. He said, "Yeah, all my relatives are up there on Melanson." I asked him if they were Guptills, to which he replied that they are Atwalls. I then asked him if he was related to Melissa Atwall, one of Jason Kenney's girlfriends back in the 1990s. See separate posts about Jason Kenney's assault charges against Melissa Atwell. And Guptill said she was probably one of his cousin's daughters. As an inside here, and with an asset from a Finding Kenley Facebook member, I was able to confirm that Medford Guptill is related to Melissa Atwall. Medford's mother's Cora was an Atwall, and her brother Donald has a daughter, Melissa. Atwall. Now, I wonder if that was the Melissa that Kenley was flirting with. Well, one of the girls that he was flirting with that we discussed in my other video at the college party over the weekend, because Jason Kenney was peeved. And I'm going to say Jason because it was Jason. He was Jason. She was Jason then. Medford's mother, Cora, Medford's cousin, isn't it? Okay. Also interesting is that Melissa's brother is also named Daryl. Oh, okay. So Melissa's father's name, Medford, Cora was an Atwall, and her brother Donald Atwall's son was Daryl Atwall, aka Big Daryl. Medford's cousin is Melissa Atwall's father. Also interesting is that Melissa's brother is also named Daryl, aka Little Daryl. Several years ago, during the production of Missing Kenley, both Suzanne Saunders, Jason Kenney's mother, and Toby May Saunders, Jason Kenney's sister, told me about a friend Jason had at the time of Kenley's disappearance, someone named Daryl, and I remember them talking about that friend. In fact, they both joked on occasion about there being a new heart, because Daryl and Daryl. Yeah, anybody that's my age, maybe a little bit younger and older, remember who Daryl and Daryl are. So the Daryl and Daryl situation. When it came to this person and some other friends of Jason at that time, Toby May told me more than once that she always got a terrible feeling whenever this particular person was around, as did the Kenney family dog. Evidently, dogs are smart. When I recently tried to find out if this Daryl was, in fact, Daryl Murray Atwall, Melissa Atwall's brother, Toby May could not confirm it. It should be mentioned here as well that Daryl Murray Atwall has a long criminal record and is currently in prison, serving a 4.5-year sentence for his association with a West Hants homicide, where he was charged with, among other things, interfering with human remains and arson. Now, I found this very interesting. Like, the more information that is being found out in this case, it's kind of becoming clearer and clearer every time what most likely took place here. So interfering with human remains and arson. Last summer, when I returned from Nova Scotia, I was able to pass along an idea I had regarding this situation to the current RCMP lead investigator on Kenley's case, Ariel Hines, which they probably already know, I'm sure. I would hope. Ariel Hines, where I suggested that they might want to consider approaching Daryl Atwall in prison and seeing if he had any credible information on Kenley Matheson's disappearance, and if so, with the possibility of reducing his sentence if he shared it with investigators. As far as I know, this has not been attempted or considered. Well, I'm not sure that they would tell him. We know he's from the States. You have to remember, we know what our CMP are like here. Yeah. So it's a little different here. I mean, probably not so much different. I would assume all investigators are not going to announce certain things, right? Yeah. So, and to my knowledge, this new investigator has done nothing with this new lead since receiving it back in August 2025. And we don't know that. We don't know that. People assume, you know, I'm going to disagree there that probably, most likely, they would definitely look into that, you know. Now, back to Medford Guptill meeting. I then asked Medford if he ever knew someone named Stanley Hiltz. So this is the other person that was written on that, what you're looking at on the screen there that they found in, I was going to say Finley's, that they found in Kenley's room, the two names. Stanley Hiltz was the other name that was written on the piece of paper in Kenley's room. Now, I shouldn't say Kenley wrote it. If I did, I apologize, because they obviously were, because that went missing, they can't compare to make sure that that was Kenley who wrote that, but it was found in his room. I then asked Medford if he had ever knew someone named Stanley Hiltz. He coughed and then said that he knew a lot of Hiltzes, that there were a lot of Hiltzes up on West Brooklyn Mountain, but that he didn't know a Stanley Hiltz. I then returned to his comment regarding the missing posters to confirm that this was the only thing he knew or remembered about the Kenley Matheson case. This was now about 10 minutes into our meeting. He said yes, that was it. That was all he knew, but then quickly deflected the question by asking where Kenley was seen last, whether he had a habit of going anywhere, whether he went out swimming. And now it's interesting that he would ask that, because in the short time that Kenley was in WOLFVILLE before he went missing, which, my God, what was it, a little bit more than a week? No more than 2 weeks. He did go swimming a couple of times at a swimming hole. So that's interesting that he would say that. Did he whether he went swimming, whether he was someone who went biking, etc. And then he asked, where did Kenley grow up? I answered these questions, and then he asked, probing further to find out what else I knew, whether I checked out his friends, and whether he was into drugs or anything like that. I said yes, he was. And he was just into marijuana and hash and stuff like that. Well, as far as we know and heard, anything any heavier than that, and beer. And that this was an interesting question, and then asked him directly if he ever dealt drugs. Medford said rather faintly, no. Linda added, I don't think so. He was a security guard. And I have to laugh at that. And you guys, I'm sure, know why. It's kind of funny how people think. And I'm not going to mention another name, but in the Lilly&Jack case, there's been another name floating around, and people going, well, no, he's the security guard. Okay, I see we have some stirred comments here. Oh, little black bear, you've been busy. Member for 2 months. $20. Thank you, little black bear. Thank you. Gifted a membership. Thank you. Little black bear, you are just so precious. Thank you. So I'm going to give my voice a little teeny tiny break and go over and play our thank you song. When we get into the Lilly and Jack topic, there's a little less of me talking and more videos, so that'll give my voice a little bit of a break. But this, you have to admit, this information is interesting, very interesting indeed. And it's a very recent update, and to hear it right from the horse's mouth telling us this in a missing person case, right, that he's doing investigative journalism on is very interesting. And like he said, he wants to share it with the public right away. He feels it should be out there. Thank you, Black Bear. This will give me time to get a little drink while that's playing. Thank you, Black Bear. Very nice. You're very sweet, very kind. Yeah, really cool, Jay. Very interesting, eh? Very interesting. I hope y'all can tolerate my voice as I'm reading it to you. All right, so I'll get back over there because we don't want to take too long because we got to get to Jack and Lily too. Okay, so I turned, where were we? I answered these questions, and then he asked probing. Okay, he asked about the drugs. I said yes, he was, and that this was an interesting question, and then asked him directly if he ever dealt drugs, and Lynn said, oh yeah, but security. He was a security guard. My goodness gracious, how could you think such a thing? He then added that he'd never even had a beer in his whole life. Shan, do you believe that? Do you believe this security guard from Nova Scotia never even drank one beer in his whole life? I don't know. He could be telling the truth. I don't know, but I don't know. Hell no. I agree. I think very unlikely. Shan, thank you. You didn't have to do that. You guys are so sweet. Thank you. And just the facts, ma'am, has been a member for 4 months. You guys who have been members, remember, you guys have a special thing there that you can click on to put in a message, and it's like it's a top message because you're members, and you get a free one every month. If you don't use it, it might run out. So like if you didn't use it for 3 months, it's not like there's going to be 3 there, I don't think. But like when I go to Justin's chat, I'll have one there and I'll write a message. I probably have one in Shan's now. Thank you, Shan. Thank you. And thank you again to Little Bear. Thank you. Thanks, guys. You guys are great. Yep. Dance to that music. Hi, Sassy Cat. Thanks for being here. Yeah, members milestones available once a month. Yeah. And like I said, I don't know if they compile, like if you don't use them, like if, if you looked, if you'd have 3 months or 4 months there, or if they kind of go to the wayside and you just have that one per month. Like if you don't use it, you lose it type thing. I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here. Okay, I then told him, Kenley's name, okay. Okay, yeah, I never had a beer in my whole life. Okay, I turned to the issue at hand and asked him if the Wolfville police or the RCMP had ever talked to him in the 33 years since Kenley's disappearance. And that's the other thing you have to understand in this case. It's the Wolfville police and RCMP working on this. It's probably just the RCMP now, I would think. Actually, I think that is so. It's just RCMP working on this now. Yeah, okay. I turned to the issue at hand and asked him if the Wolfville police or the RCMP had ever talked to him in the 33 years since Kenley's disappearance. He said no, and then quickly deflected by saying that he worked at the correctional center and that they had a lot of drug dealers in there. Yeah, for sure. Prisoners and guards. And then he added that he did not remember Kenley's name coming up while working there. I then told him that one of the main reasons I wanted to talk to him was that his name was in the case file, that his name was found in Kenley's room after he disappeared. As I said this, he murmured, "Yeah," twice under his breath. I then asked, "How did that happen?" His first response was that he had a daughter who went to Acadia, who graduated in 1992. After we established that she wasn't there at the time as Kenley, he said, "For the life of me, I don't know why my name would be in the files." I then said that it was very odd that a 20-year-old from Cape Breton, being Kenley, only 2 weeks into his time in Wolfville, would have the name Medford Guptill in his dorm room. And honestly, guys, isn't that very strange? Now think about that. Because at that time, Kenley's 20. And this man is a grown man. Why would that name be on a piece of paper in Kenley's room? And I wish that hadn't disappeared, because it'd be so interesting to see if it was Kenley's handwriting or not, or it was some names that somebody else wrote down and gave to him as names that he could go to if he wanted to get some weed or hash or whatever. Yeah. So strange. It means something, that's for sure, though. I mean, that's not something that means nothing. I asked him again, how on earth did he end up with your name in his room? Before Medford could answer, Linda jumped in and mentioned that there was another name found in Kenley's room, that she had read the story on that, and asked if she was right in saying it was Chad Hiltz. I corrected her and told her it was Stanley Hiltz, and that the Wolfville police wondered if his name being in Kenley's room was drug-related. And then I told Medford that his name was right next to Stanley Hiltz in the Wolfville police notes and timeline, which is what I have up on the screen there. Medford asked when this all took place, and I told him 1992. He then added that 1992 was when he went back to work, was when he went to work at the correctional center in Wolfville. Oh, what a coinkydink. And asked if Kenley had ever been in there, in the adult one. I said that not as far as I know, and no, Kenley has never been in a correctional center. I then briefly described the September 1992 timeline and again mentioned that during the October 10th room search, the Wolfville police found some hash, which interested them, and also found a few names, one of which was his. As I finished this sentence, he again said, yeah, and then deflected, asking why they let weeks go by before they did the room search. I explained that there had been an initial look around the room a few days after his disappearance. Medford added that given Kenley was in Wolfville only a couple weeks, it didn't give him much time to make a lot of friends. Very true. I, but the thing is, you guys know what it's like. Like, so picture these young folks going to college and they want to go get their weed or their hash. They find out the names quickly. They don't wait. They're not waiting. They're finding out quickly because they want that stuff as quick as they can get it. So they can have a puff whenever they want. I told him about Kenley's closest friends that semester and asked him if the name Tomlinson meant anything to him. And if you guys watched the video that Shannon and I did, you'll remember who Kristen is. She was one of the quick friends that Kenley did make. There was a couple of them. She was one of them. Kristen Tomlinson was one of these friends. Her father was Ralph Tomlinson, host of the Corkum Island weekend that Kenley attended, and who also had a conviction record for marijuana cultivation. In response, Medford whispered, "No." I followed up, "Have you ever heard of Ralph Tomlinson?" He looked down and whispered, "No." I said, "Okay." And then he looked up at me and said more. Said, "Okay." And then he looked up at me. And said more firmly, "No." I said a bit dubiously, "Huh?" Medford perked up and said, "It's a cold trail, isn't it?" Ugh. Creepy. Medford then asked if I was related to Kenley. I said that I was not, but that this part of the story had been itching me for years and that I had always wanted to meet him and ask him about it, meaning Medford, not Kenley. He joked, "Well, you should have come sooner." I told him that he was a hard man to find because remember in the beginning he said he looked and left message after message, no reply. I told him that he was a hard man to find, to which he replied that he's moved around a lot, including a stint from 2005 to 2017 in New Brunswick. The reason I never found him in Nova Scotia during the years that I was producing the docuseries. Although I do vaguely remember once placing a few calls to an M. Guptill in New Brunswick that were never picked up. Linda then wondered aloud as to why the RCMP never interviewed Medford, and then Medford, after almost 20 minutes of stating that his only knowledge of Kenley was from the posters, finally said, "Someone somewhere told me my name was connected to him, but I can't remember who it was." Linda then responded, "I did. I saw it on TV. Your name was on TV." Medford acknowledged this is true, but then disingenuously asked, "How was it on TV?" Jeez. My goodness. Linda answered, "They did a program on it. They did a documentary on it." I then attempted to show Medford a copy on my phone of the actual Wolfville police timeline where his name is mentioned. And again, that's what you guys are looking at on the screen. He did not seem interested and barely glanced at it. I said, "You don't remember that?" He said, "No, nobody talked to me. No police ever talked to me about it." I said, "Okay." That it was like, sorry. I said, "Okay, that it was kind of a head scratcher." To which Medford agreed that it was weird. From that information I have been able to gather, and as inexplicable as it may seem, it may indeed be true that no one in law enforcement over the past 33 years has ever spoken to Medford Guptill about his name being found in Kenley's room. Hard to say. That's me saying that. Because is he going to admit it? He's going to play dumb. And especially if his wife didn't know if the police spoke to him, right? Yeah. Yeah. Kenley's sister, Kayreen, and I were trying to get information on the actual handwritten supplementary report pages that generated the April 8th, 1999 entry in the Wolfville Police Department timeline. These supplementary report entries were either redacted or not provided when the RCMP released several thousand pages of case file documents to Kenley's family in 2019. We put in the request to the current lead investigator, Ariel Hines, for these specific pages, or at least a description of them. So Kenley's sister Kayreen and I were trying to get information on the actual handwritten supplementary report pages. Okay, so maybe they do exist, but they are not giving them to them. And if that's the case, I mean, to me, that would mean they are taking it serious, because that's a piece of evidence that they don't want out there. Huh. So we put in a request to Lilly for these specific, at least a description of what was contained in them, in order to see if anyone in the Wolfville police force actually spoke to Guptill in April 1999, or indeed if any Wolfville Police Department or RCMP investigator ever spoke with him then or otherwise. According to Hines, these missing or redacted pages do not relate to either Guptill or Hiltz. And after her review of the entire case file, she states that there is no indication that anyone has ever spoken to either of them. Interesting. What this means in real terms is that, if true, not a single investigator in the 33-year history of Kenley Matheson case has ever thought to locate and interview Guptill, who was a middle-aged local man and prison guard in 1992, and whose name somehow Kenley, having just arrived in Wolfville, had in his dorm room. It is truly mind-boggling if this is indeed the case. And again, it's hard to say if it is or isn't. Is that just information they don't want to be out there? And this is an investigative journalist who's done a documentary on this and is willing to put everything out there, which I understand that side of things, not saying he's doing anything wrong. But the RCMP then are going to be a little extra leery on what they give him, what information, and to the family as well, because they know there's very close ties between all of them. I then brought up Medford's age at the time of Kenley's disappearance, which I told him never made sense to me. I said it was one thing for Kenley to have the name of some 20-year-old Wolfville local that he met during those first couple of weeks, but that he, Medford, was nearing 50 years. Well, that's what I said too. Like that, like, come on. Like that, come on. Like that's just too odd. Yeah. 50-year-old at the time. Guptill was either 46, 47 in September of 1992. And I asked pointedly, why would a 20-year-old kid just arriving from Cape Breton have a 50-year-old guy from Hansport's name in his room? He had no answer. He said that he didn't have the faintest idea how his name got in there, and that he wished he did. Circling back to Stanley Hiltz, I asked what Hiltzes he knew. He said he knew Dale Hiltz, Gerald Hiltz, and Randy Hiltz. He stopped the list there. But then Linda asked, isn't there a Howie Hiltz? Good old Linda. Oh my God. Medford's probably thinking in his head, Linda, will you shut up? Yep. So Linda spoke up and said, well, what about Howie Hiltz? Medford then reluctantly conceded that there was a Howie Hiltz who was his neighbor. Well, hello. Who was his neighbor in West Brooklyn. There are actually a couple of West Brooklyn real estate transactions between the two of them that can be found in the land registration office in Kempville. Well, come on. Now that's suspicious. And obviously, his poor wife, Linda, has not a clue what is actually going on here. Because, when somebody, I'd be like that. Like I'd be clueless and innocently be going, oh no, honey, remember so and so? You must remember him. Not even cluing in. Yeah, okay. So, he definitely knows him. Okay, real estate transactions between the two of them that can be found in the land registration office in Kempville, Nova Scotia. One can also find in his same office a 1990 record of the above-mentioned Cora Guptill as granting a lot of land to Medford Guptill. Well, so they're all intertwined. It's the same thing you're hearing in the Lilly&Jack case, right? How all these names end up finding, we find out some type of association there, right? Yeah. Granting a lot in the end. The same office record above mentioned Cora Guptill as granting a lot of land to Medford Guptill, situate at Horton on the Mountain Road near Avonport, a property that Medford's cousin, Daryl Atwell, God, likely knew about. So all connected. Medford made an explicit point of asking me if I had spoken to all the persons of interest, such as Jason Kenney, and I said yes. At this point, Linda asked for my phone number. Oh, wow. I bet you Medford loved that. Which I gave to her, as well as my name, and told them that I was the creator of the program they had mentioned, that she had said she saw that information in. I then brought up the belief that Kenley had been killed and buried up on Melanson Mountain. Medford said, yeah, I heard that. And then, oh my gosh. Yeah, he heard that, but yet in the beginning he said he's only ever heard of Kenley on a poster. And then seeing the surprised look on my face, given that he had said earlier about the posters being the only thing he knew about Kenley's disappearance, he quickly added, I can't remember where. Yeah. I then asked him if he'd ever heard of something called the Bear Caves. And we talk about the Bear Caves in that video. Steve does, Steve Staples. He coughed. You got to love the cough thing, because the cough thing is like a time for pause to give them a little bit of thinking time to the answer. He coughed for only the second time in the interview, the first time being when I asked him if he knew Stanley Hiltz. He paused and then, barely audible and under his breath, said no. Linda then began asking Medford about the cave down by the falls on West Brooklyn Mountain. He said yes, there was a big cave down by the falls inside the big bank, but he quickly added that no one has been to that location that he knew of for 40 years. I inquired further about the exact location of the cave, as they used to call it, the cave. Okay, they used to call it the cave, as they used to call it. And Medford said that it was really hard to get at, and that he didn't think there would be anything there, and that again, he hadn't been down there in 40 to 50 years. He gave me a few more specifics, but then emphasized, "You'll never find it now." Mm. He's hoping, I would say. The next day, I hiked out to the location on West Brooklyn Mountain. It was not very hard to get to, and I found it fairly easily. Medford was right, though, in terms of what was there. Indeed, I found multiple caves, and we did show, I'm pretty sure we showed the multiple caves in the video that Shannon and I did. Multiple caves in the banks of Curry Brook, some of which are more cave-like than anything I've ever seen on Melanson Mountain. I then asked him about what the drug scene was like up on Melanson Mountain back in the 1990s. I said that I knew people were cultivating drugs up on Melanson in the fields, to which he agreed, but then it was probably the same as anywhere. He said that he was not in the drug scene, so he wouldn't have any inside information, but added, unless it was the correctional center. Medford said he knew that a lot of drug-related guys came in there, and he mentioned the name Grant Lockard as a big drug dealer that he dealt with a lot. I asked him to speculate on what he thought may have happened to Kenley. Medford said that if Kenley was associated with drugs, he may have owed some drug dealer money or something, and that they just got rid of him and his body. Well, he was only there for 2 weeks. How much money could you owe somebody within a 2-week period? And that's going to happen within a 2-week period, that they feel the need to get rid of him. That's a bit silly. Almost done, guys. I'm going to come over, check, make sure you guys are okay and that you're still here. Hello, Stevie Wonder. Hello, Becca. Yeah. Whatever secrets old Medford has, he's kept from his wife over the day. It sounds like it. It sounds like it for sure, eh? For sure, I would say. Yeah. Ginger's been a month. Ginger's been a member for 3 months. Ginger gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Ginger. Thank you. And Little Bear, did you gift another membership? Thank you. I'm going to wait until I finish reading this and we'll play the Happy Happy song then. Thank you, guys. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. Yeah, there's only a couple of pages left. I asked him to speculate on what he thought may have happened to Kenley. Medford said that if Kenley was associated with drugs, yeah, I doubt that he accumulated a debt like that during that short period. I ended the meeting by saying that it was unfortunate, even after talking to him, that we still didn't have an answer as to why his name was in Kenley's room. Well, I think we can all take a pretty good guess. And I added how bizarre it was that the Wolfville police had his name in their timeline. He keeps taunting him with that, eh? Trying to, get him going on that, kind of like an investigator does. And it's journalism, right? And his name in the timeline as someone they were going to contact, but that apparently they never did. I kind of think they probably did, but his wife doesn't know. Yeah. He repeated, "No, they didn't," and added, "I wish they did. I shouldn't be noted. It should be noted that during this last part of the meeting, while discussing the drugs and through to the end, Medford's body language began to change. His jaw tensed up, his eyes became reddish and a little watery. His arms were crossed, and he began moving slightly backward and away from me. Interesting. Yeah. I thanked Medford and Linda for the time and returned to Wolfville. Now, in terms of what still needs to be done by investigators, investigator Ariel Hines, lead RCMP investigator, should try to get to the bottom of why Medford Guptill and Stanley Hiltz's name were on a piece of paper in Kenley's room. Investigators should interview both men and consider polygraphing them both. I agree. Wouldn't that be interesting to pull them in to be polygraphed? Yeah. Just to see what they got out of that interview, what feel they get out of it as investigators, right? Investigators or people who know him, investigators are willing to do it. Talk with Daryl Murray Atwell. Yeah, I agree as well. And see what, if anything, he knows about Kenley's disappearance. Yeah. Investigators or people who may know him. If investigators are unwilling, and I'm sorry, that's what it said up top too. If investigators are unwilling for people to talk to Daryl Murray Atwell and see what he knows, or investigators. So again, investigators are people who know him. Should interview associates of Jason Kenney. Now, Jason Kenney, who is now, oh my God, I'm sorry, I can't remember the female now. Aaron. Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, you would think they would have talked to him. Well, I think they did, but yeah, it needs to go further. Talk to Charlene Smith, Jason Kenney's ex-wife. Definitely any associates, right? Who he may have shared something with after he shared the things that he shared with his family. The so-called Mountain Boys, associated names that sources have provided: Joe Ketty, Corey Smith, Mike Wallace, Robbie Peters, Sean Gertridge, and someone known as Rooster or Chicken. Interesting. I'm laughing because there's a rooster here, someone known as Rooster here in Pictou County. Brian Saunders, friend of Jason Kenney. Ross Forrest, Jason Kenney drug friend. Mike McDonald, close friend to Jason Kenney. Chris Giles. A source told me that Giles once told a story about a huge fight Jason had over a girl. Adam Monroe, a.k.a. Adam Collicutt, Melanson friend of Jason Kenney's. Adam Monroe, a.k.a. Adam Collicutt. Oh, okay, sorry, I just read that. All individuals affiliated with the garage referred to by Jason Kenney's uncle in the docuseries when he said that Jason would be out in the garage, maybe on a mountain somewhere, and they'd be taking a motor out of a vehicle. Whose garage on Melanson Mountain is he talking about? Those associates should be interviewed. And there you go, guys. And he's got the same notes down there on the bottom of that I showed you guys, that I have up on the screen. Or I did have on the screen. I'm sorry. I put that banner up. I forgot you guys couldn't see it. Or I put that picture up. All right. So that is that. Interesting updates in the Kenley Matheson case. No, not the singer Steve Staples. I didn't know there was a singer named Steve Staples. All right. We'll go over Thank you, thank you, thank you again. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. Very kind of you guys. Very kind. All right. So we're going to get into Lily and Jack. Remember to take down the thank you this time so you guys can see. Now, remove that. You guys see my background there? That is one of the billboards of Lily and Jack. Missing, please help. Lilly&Jack Sullivan, missing since May 2nd, 2025. Missing from Lansdowne, Pictou County, Nova Scotia. If you have any information, call RCMP at 1-800. I'm going to put up my other thing because that's too small to see. Yeah, rewards for major unsolved crimes. 1-888-710-9090 requires name and contact info. May need to testify. Crime Stoppers of Nova Scotia, which can be anonymous, 1-800-222-TIPS 8477 or online crimestoppers.ns.ca. And by the way, that would be the same number for Kenley as well, if you have any information on Kenley's case also. Yeah, so that is one of the billboards there. Man, they're huge. That is awesome. Awesome. And the Searcher Steve, yeah, we'll call him the Searcher Steve. I'm trying to remember where this one is. I think this one's in New Brunswick. I think. Because there was two pictures that I had. One was Newfoundland, one was New Brunswick. And I think this is the one in New Brunswick. And the one in Newfoundland was near a dollar store, I believe. So before we get into Lily and Jack, what I'll do, I'll put an intermission song on. We will have a couple-minute break for anyone that needs to go to potty or grab a drink, or if you smoke and you run outside and have a cigarette, whatever. I don't care. You do whatever you want to do. You got a couple of minutes to do it. Or you can just sit there and listen to the hoedown, because I'm going to play everybody's favorite song that everybody loves. Yes, and I will also put up, I did have Please Bring Me Home picture here as well, ready to go. But like I said, I lost everything. I have to catch the rest late. My boy is here with his... yeah. And the rest will be Lily and Jack. So all you got to do is skip forward till you get there. Yeah, so I will put up the poster there for Lily and Jack regarding the Please Bring Me Home search. They are still taking names. My son just signed up there a few days ago. He's going to join the search. Very happy about that. Just give me 1 second and I will bring it up. There you go. So while the hoedown is being played, our intermission, there's the information on screen. Calling on all angels. Calling on all angels. Join the search for Jack and Lily Sullivan. The information is currently on the screen to go to how to go about that. And I will be back in a couple of minutes. Hi. I know most people like that one. That's why I play that one. I like that one too. Alrighty, guys. Let us get into Lily and Jack. So I got to pull my notes out for this one. So I've been working on this one for quite some time. As you guys know, I was off for a bit because I had the sore upper back neck thing going on again. So I had lots of time to do some research and pull some stuff together. I don't know where that poll went. I don't see it anymore. That's weird. Or maybe it finished. Okay. Is it uncommon for a parent of a missing child to not speak publicly? Wow. Is it uncommon for a parent of a missing child? Yes, it is uncommon. So only 3 people voted, and those 3 people said yes, they do feel that it is uncommon. So I'm going to be wholeheartedly, genuinely truthful with you guys, and that's why I decided to hit on this topic, because I just kept thinking, like, is that unusual? Because honestly, I never thought of it as unusual, and I have been following true crime forever, ever. Like, I'm 54, and I have followed true crime since I can remember, honestly. I mean, at a young age till now. And it never entered my mind to look at that as being suspicious or, you know, I never really thought anything of it. I know we're curious as human beings, like what are these parents thinking, this mom or dad? What are they thinking of this? Where do they think their kids could be? Outside of having some sympathy, of course, for some parents. But I never really. The only time, I have to be honest, that I did put more thought into it are the parents that come out and speak a lot. And so someone like Penny Boudreau, I want you guys to, any name that you know of a parent of a missing child who came out and spoke publicly, probably more than once, and they ended up being the ones who were the cause of their children being missing. So for me, I think of a lot, but I'm going to say Penny Boudreau. There's a lot more, but I want to see who you guys say, because you're probably going to say all the other names that I'm thinking of as well. There's a lot. So throw some names in the chat. Who can you think of? Yeah, Orrin and Orson. Wes. Yep. Yipper. Anyone else? Come on, guys, throw some names in there. Yep. Well, we don't know yet about the Summer Wells, if her parents were found, guilty. I know people think that it's something to do with it. And hi, Chicken Whisper. Thank you so much for being here. But parents who we know. Hi, Truth Chaser. Zach Kellogg. No. Yeah, the Soto case. Her boyfriend. Yep. What's his name? Megan Boswell. Yep. There's one that just had her Letitia Stack, stepmother. She kept coming out. She just loved talking to the media. Did Lori ever talk to? I don't think Lori ever talked to media, did she? Or come out publicly and speak a lot? Lilani Simon, Gallows, Megan Boswell, Dex Clark. I don't know who that is. Susan, that's an old one. Susan Smith, who come out begging for her children back, and she was found guilty. Penny Boudreau was found guilty. Orrin and Olson West parents found guilty. The case there in the States, the little baby that just went missing, and the mother was saying that someone hit her over the head and she had the black eye. They wrote publicly guilty. What is that one's name? She was in the living room and her 2 boys were murdered. The baby was upstairs. She had 3 boys, but the 2 boys were murdered. And she was found guilty. She was in the media all the time. Yeah, exactly. Just the fact, so many. Yeah, she was found guilty. Diane Downs. Yes, Chicken Whisperer. I do remember her. Yes. Yeah, and she was found guilty, wasn't she? If it's the same one I'm thinking of. Their kids in the car, and she said that someone attacked them. And it was her. She was found guilty. She was on the media all the time, speaking publicly all the time. Yeah. And that was a while ago. What is that one's name? Remember she sprayed the silly string at the boy's funeral at the burial site? Her name's right on the tip of my tongue because that's an older one and I have a good memory for older stuff. What was her name? You guys know who I mean. It starts with a D. I know it starts with a D. Darlene. Yes, in Texas. Yes. And she was in the public all the time, talking. Yeah, Darlene. Yeah. Yeah, Routier. That's right. Yeah, Routier. You got it, Annie. Thanks for being here. Well, in those cases, as I followed, all those cases, I remember watching those individuals and questioning as I'm watching them, like, is something going on here? And why are they so focused on getting out in front of the media all the time? Like, what the hell's going on here? That's when it kind of struck me odd. But I don't ever remember when a parent, hi Cheryl, somebody said Casey Anthony. Was Casey Anthony out talking to the public a lot though? Because I don't remember that. I thought she wouldn't speak. Her mom spoke a lot. But not even in the beginning. Darcy, that's it. Darcy Routier. Thank you, Darcy. Yep. Yeah, she kept changing her story. Definitely. Yeah. Casey Anthony did her talking at the bars. Yeah. And had things written on her body, right? Yeah. So for me, it was something I never questioned. Like when a parent wasn't speaking out, like I never, honestly, like I'm being wholeheartedly wholeheartedly honest. Like, it never entered my mind like, oh, that's suspicious. I never thought of it that way, as some type of, yeah, you know. Um, so I got curious and I started doing some research. And does anyone remember Poly class? Oh my God, you guys, look at, okay. We're going to have to do the dance again. Rebecca Harrow, thank you. Yes, Rebecca Harrow. Yeah. Yep. Emmanuel Harrow. Yep, she was hurriedly in front of the camera there, wasn't she? Telling, oh, I was hit and black eye and bippity boppity boo. And not true. Not true. Ginger, thank you. 10 memberships. Thank you. And did somebody, sorry. Olive. Olive became a member. Thank you, Olive. Thank you very much. Ginger, thank you. You're so kind. You guys are so kind. Thank you. Did I miss anything there? 10 memberships. Olive. Okay, Olive's is showing now. It wasn't showing at first. Thank you so much. Very appreciated. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. So appreciate it. Oh, don't worry about that. Just the facts, ma'am. Yes, Ginger is a diamond. Glad to have her. Very fortunate to have her as a mod in the channel. Very intelligent, educated lady. Yeah, so who remembers Poly class? Anyone remember Poly class? No? Really? Mm-hmm. What about Mark class? Mark class has done a lot regarding, oh my gosh, Joyous, you don't remember Polly? I figured you would have known for sure. And Mark class, who has done a lot for children's rights, speaking up for children's rights against abuse. So his the daughter was Polly was the daughter, and the parents were separated or divorced, mother remarried, and she was kidnapped from her home during a sleepover. And that was a big, like back in the day when that happened, that was a big kind of like the Lilly&Jack case, where when everybody knew about it. It was a big case because of the fact that someone came into the home and abducted this little girl, hi Diesel Weasel, from her bedroom. So I'm going to share with you a letter from Polly's mother. So I tried to focus on cases where we know that the parents, in the end, had nothing to do with the abduction, right? Which was eventually ruled out, figured out. But in the meantime, I'm going to pull this up. Give me 1 second, guys. It's a letter from her mother. Just give me one. I'm just pulling it up. Just give me 1 second, guys. So this is a letter from Polly Klaas's mother. And this is after they found her body, and I believe it's after the killer was arrested. We'll know when I read it. And you're going to hear her actually apologize to people and explain why she did not speak publicly. And it just, to me, breaks my heart, because I'm thinking, you know, here this poor mother is dealing with her daughter being abducted from the home, murdered, and other things. And she still feels the need to explain to the public why she didn't think of them. And I just think that's heartbreaking, you know? Okay, so I'm going to go over to that screen and read that. Now, after this, we're going to get into some videos and give my voice a rest. And this is very sad. Yeah. So you guys look up Mark Klaas. I guarantee you, if you look him up, so it's MarkClaas. You're gonna go, oh yes, I know who that is, because you would have seen him on other channels. He's on Nancy Grace all the time. He's very, very, very involved with regards to missing children and the perps, and he's very well known spokesperson. And you will Yes, he is kind of like John Walsh. Absolutely. And actually, they've worked together and absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to be over at the other screen reading this, guys. And again, trigger warning because it is very sad. Okay. And oops, did I bring the wrong one up? No, but I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay. An open letter from Polly Klaas's mother. Published December 8th, 1998. The following statement was issued Monday night by Eve Nickel, mother of Polly Klaas. Dearest friends, it is with unspeakable sorrow that I must let go of the dream we all shared, the dream of our sweet Polly coming home again. So again, this is after she was found murdered. My heart tells me that she is safe in a place filled with light and love. My 6-year-old Annie recently asked her dad why the trees had to burn in the forest fire. Confused about why a bad thing had to happen, Alan explained to her that a forest needs a fire every 100 years or so to be able to rejuvenate itself, that the heat makes the seeds pop open so new trees can grow. In the midst of all this pain and horror, a new spirit in our community has begun to grow. I wish I could be with my beloved community to share our grief, but for now, I need solace and the strength of my family and closest friends. So I really think we need to pay attention to this. Look, people have the right to think whatever they want, but I do think it's important to look at the other side of things as well, to be educated and try to understand there might be a possible reason for why a mother or a father, any parent, is doing what they're doing. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to read that line again. I wish I could be with my loved community to share our grief. But for now, I need solace and strength with my family and closest friends. My heart is broken, so much life unlived, but your miraculous outpouring of love brings me comfort, and time will bring us peace. I have been preparing myself for the worst since the day I learned about Richard Allen Davis. I read his criminal record, and I feared in a mother's heart that something bad had happened. This is why I have been in seclusion from the press, both because of my pain and because I couldn't imagine living with myself if anything I said would impair the investigation or prosecution of those responsible. So I'm going to read that again. This is why I have been in seclusion from the press and the public, both because of my pain and because I couldn't imagine living with myself if anything I said would impair the investigation or prosecution of those responsible. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you who have helped or volunteered, the police and FBI and the media who were invaluable in getting out our message and getting our message out. Without your magnificent efforts, this case might have never have been solved. Your unwavering commitment and support sustained me. The agony would have been so much worse if we had felt alone or felt that law enforcement wasn't giving Polly's case top priority. I know There have been many child kidnapping cases where families felt abandoned, and my heart goes out to them. Now we know what a community can and must do. The Petaluma Police and FBI have been magnificent, and having complete faith in them has helped me to survive this. They have been open, honest, and accessible to me from the beginning, and I can never fully express my gratitude, both to them and their families who have seen very little of them. I know that their pain is almost as intense as ours because they have been living this search day and night for 9 weeks. Many of them have become dear friends. In the past weeks, I had given only one interview, and it was with John Walsh from America's Most Wanted, coincidentally. His son was kidnapped and brutally murdered, and one of the show's major focuses has been on kidnapped children. There are 4 main outcomes I now hope for. First, prosecute Davis so that he can never damage another family and community. Second, do something to stop the epidemic of child neglect and abuse. Davis, now this really, this amazed me. Second, I do something to stop the epidemic of child neglect and abuse. Davis was an abused child, and the cycle has repeated itself in the most horrible way possible. Now, I talk about that a lot on my channel, and you guys that have been here a lot have heard me say it, that, that's why I think it's important not to overlook certain things like the issues in Nova Scotia and digging into the whole CPS thing. And there's other stuff. I won't get into it. That's another topic for another day. I have done videos on it, but you guys know I've discussed that. But to see a mother who just lost her child acknowledging that is amazing. Like, wow. And fourth, change our laws regarding habitual criminals. Davis should never have been free to walk the streets in Petaluma looking for an innocent child to kill. So sad. I don't know why Polly's case has so profoundly touched people around the world, and that's why I said it was like Lilly&Jack. It's like Lilly&Jack in that sense. My love and compassion goes out to all the families who have not received this support, and I hope all have learned in this case we galvanize other communities facing this situation in the future. But for now, let Polly's fate serve to highlight the weakness in our legal system and our failure to prevent child abuse so that something good can come out of this horror. I hope to work toward those goals in the future. For now, let's grieve together for our hope lost, for our faith betrayed. When we can, let's open our hearts to forgiveness and healing. Focus on the changes we can and must effect, rather than torturing ourselves with the what ifs. Human errors were made, but no one is to blame except Richard Allen Davis. We must have mercy ourselves. And Polly would want us to thrive on the love we have created, not the hate. Polly won't be coming home, but her spirit will be with us always. With love, Eve Nickel, Polly's mother. Gaspé girl, hi. And I mean that to me is sad. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but there are certain things Yeah, I figured Joyous I figured. Now I don't know if you guys noticed, but there are certain things that she said in there that are the language is so similar to the letter that Malaya wrote. If you guys remember that Malaya wrote to please bring me home, there's very similar language in there. If you don't remember, go back and read Malaya's letter and then compare it to this. You'll see the similar language in there. It's interesting. This actually surprised me when I started to dig into it and go, okay, well, is this so that it's unusual that a parent doesn't come out? So I'm going to show you a few other things here. I'll take that off screen. So we know Malaya did come out and speak once. In the beginning, there was different parts of that shown, and I'm going to go over those videos again, the two different parts of her interview that they had shown, because they had shown one part on one day, and then on another day, there was another part they had shown that a lot of people missed. And there's one part that is repeat, but there's another part that's not. It's actually new, and a lot of people didn't see it. But we're going to go over this stuff first. A couple more things here to share. Oh, bigger. Now, the case that I just read with Polyclass, that was in the States. Now, this one that I'm going to discuss was in was in Canada, and her name was Nicole Morin. She went missing in 1985 in BC. So 3 days after Nicole disappeared, her mother, Jeanette Morin, accompanied again by relatives, so it's not unusual for a parent to be surrounded by family and friends, addressed the media to ask for help in finding her daughter, who had gone missing after leaving her 20th floor apartment to meet a friend to go swimming. Now, that was her one and only initial plea. They replayed it every year on the anniversary. Her mother passed away in 2007, and then they continued to play it. The struggle, Jeanette and her husband were heavily involved in the search, often clashing with authorities over the initial delay and taking the case seriously. Jeanette carried the weight of that initial delay and the unresolved nature of the case until her death in 2007, never finding out what happened to her daughter. But that was one media interview she had done. And they never did find Nicole. They've done age progressed pictures. Yeah, evidence decades later as the case remained one of Ontario's most notorious. Oh, sorry, it happened in Ontario. My apologies. It's the next one that was in BC. Most notorious unsolved cold case. Police have renewed pleas, often highlighting the mother's initial desperation. So they just replayed that initial interview that she had did to mark anniversaries every year, including the 40th. In July of 2025. Okay, so this one is Abby Drover. And I spoke about this one a little bit on Shan. So Abby, this happened in BC, Canada again, 1976. And she was found. She was kidnapped by a neighbor, put underground in a dugout hole on the garage floor. And she eventually did escape because the police came for something else and they come in the garage just as her captor was coming up out of the hole. And then she was able to be found. Okay, so based on reports, and when I was on Shan's, what I spoke about, he was taunting her, just like Ariel Castro did to his victims. He was taunting her that, oh, your mother's not even looking for you, putting that in her head because her mother wasn't on the news, right? Which, again, I've never thought anything wrong with that. And in these cases, we know the families had nothing to do with the disappearances, but, he was using that to taunt them. And he was doing that this guy was doing that to Abby, right? And yeah, it's just terrible. Okay, so 12-year-old Abby Drover in Port Moody, BC, her mother and family were sick with worry. So again, very same language used with what, I can't remember if it was Malaya or Malaya's mother, when they spoke with a reporter on the phone, had used that same language during the 6-month ordeal and engaged in efforts to find her. 1976 disappearances. Search was extensive and involved community, police, and even the abductor himself. Imagine. Family's position. Reports from the time indicate the family, including her mother, were in a state of distress over her disappearance, holding on to hope. And I want you to listen to those words, holding on to hope. Again, very familiar language that you hear, right? Now you hear it here, and we're going to look at some videos as well. Holding on to hope for her safe return. But again, she did not do those. My understanding, not only did she not do continuous public media, in today's world, whatever else is public, YouTube and Facebook, but she did not do any, but she had nothing to do with the loss of, or the kidnapping of her daughter. Her daughter, like I said, was found and was abducted. Very important for us to keep in mind. And like I said, as I was researching this and reading these and listening to these, and I'm hearing the same language over and over and over, and it's the same language that we're hearing from Malaya. And then some people talk about, her Malaya's odd behavior. Well, we're going to look at another case where we know the parents had absolutely nothing to do with the abduction of the child. And I want you to watch the behavior of the mother in the interview, who, by the way, at this time was her only appearance at the time. Now, later on, her and her husband became spokespeople, John Walsh and his wife. But Yeah, so I'm going to bring that interview up now. So I just thought that was interesting information because I wondered, why am I not having those thoughts that this is unusual? Like, did I, after all this time following true crime and following these cases and missing cases, a lot of missing cases, like, did I miss the ball on that one? Like, somewhere along the lines? Like, so I had to go back and look at these cases. And I'm like, well, no, my conclusion is the same at the end of the day after doing my homework that, oh, you're welcome, Gina. Thanks. You're welcome. At the end of the day, my conclusion is the same, that no, I'm sticking with my thoughts that it's not that unusual. It's not unusual at all. And in fact, when my red flags, like I said, typically go up when I see that parent out there all the time. Like, my flags start to go up. And I'm going, okay, what's going on here? Not to say that's so all the time, but for me, that's more of a flag than the parent not being out there. And again, these are cases where we know 100% parents had nothing to do with anything. Okay, so now we're going to look at a fourth one. So this would be John Walsh and his wife. So just give me 1 second to pull that up, guys. I have to pull YouTube up. So I'm going to play this whole video. It's only 3.5 minutes long, I think. Keep in mind, both parents are innocent. We all know that. Everybody knows this case. If you don't know this case, look it up. We all know who John Walsh is. We haven't heard a lot about his wife. Her name is, I think I said Eve, and it's not Eve. It's Reve. So I'll just play the whole thing, but I really want you to pay close attention to the mother. And let's say, if we had no idea what the ending of this story is. So there's been an individual convicted of this. They know who did it. They know what he did to their son. Everybody knows the story. We know these parents had nothing to do with it. But if you did not know that, watch Reve. Watch Reve.
Six-year-old Adam Walsh is still missing at this hour. The sandy-haired youngster disappeared from the Sears Hollywood Mall between 12:30 and 1:45 on Monday afternoon. We've invited his parents, John and Reve Walsh, to be in Channel 4 studio in the hope that their words might be heard by the person or persons who police believe abducted young Adam. Mrs. Walsh, you were in the store, of course, with Adam when he disappeared. What do you think happened?
I think that someone could have overheard me tell him where I was going and talked him into meeting me there, or he could have been chased out of the store by a scuffle that happened during the same amount of time. And from there, he was just scared and didn't know what to do.
Now, you went to the department and Adam went over to the toy department nearby.
Well, we have to pass the toy department to get to the lamp department, so.
And while we're on that subject, Mr. Walsh, I believe the police would be anxious to talk to anybody who might have been in Sears on Monday afternoon between 12:30 and 12:45 in that vicinity. Am I correct?
Yes, they feel they're quite surprised that someone hasn't come forth yet. They're totally baffled by Adam's disappearance and convinced that someone has him, but they appeal to anyone that was in Sears from 12 until 3 that afternoon.
12 until 3.
To please come forth and contact the Hollywood department so that we could follow up on that.
How was Adam dressed, Mrs. Walsh?
He had on a basically red and white horizontally striped Izod shirt, green shorts, and yellow rubber thongs. They were blue straps, yellow bottoms on them. He had a white, very distinct captain's hat on with a navy blue visor.
Mr. Walsh, there is, of course, a possibility that someone holding Adam might be watching this station, this program at this moment. What would you say to that person?
We love Adam very much, and we have no vengeance for the people that have Adam. We just want them to know that the police and we would feel that if they could please drop him off somewhere, there will be no retaliation. We do not want to prosecute the people. We just want our son back. We feel that the people may be afraid that there will be retaliation, and that is not the case. We are prepared to deal with them in any way, on any terms whatsoever, to get Adam back.
Well, let's give the police phone number in Hollywood, 921-3387. That's a number that can be called with any information concerning Adam's whereabouts. And in the belief that perhaps somebody may not want to go through the police to avoid retaliation, as you put it, let's give another number, the one for our Channel 4 news line. I'll be very happy to talk with anybody at 371-7144. That's 371-7144. That's our Channel 4 news hotline in Miami. And we do join with the prayers of thousands of others, your neighbors and friends, asking for Adam's safe return. Good night. May the good news be yours.
For as long as creatives have existed,
It is very sad, isn't it? And yeah, they did. They found him. Well, they didn't find him. They know where he was placed, and they know, who did it, and he was charged, and he's in prison for it. Well, I don't know if he's still alive, but did you notice Reve? There at one point she's kind of smirking and like tiny chuckle. Yeah, you have to pass the lamps to get to the wherever, and she's primping her clothes, and we know what happened. So looking at that, we're not gonna think of anything unusual, in what she's doing, because we know what happened. But if nobody knew what happened and you were to look at that, boy, would people pick that apart. Like, well, why is she smirking when she's talking about the lamps and talking like that? Why is she so concerned about her clothes and primping herself? Her son's missing. Yeah, you see? Yeah, sure it was, because she's probably going right out of her ever-loving mind, honestly, Like, we don't know what is going through her head. Just one second, guys. I got a message there from Ms. Daphne. Okay, sorry, I just wanted to check that because it was from Daphne. Your fingers are not working, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they sure do. Yeah, she did, though, have a very detailed description of his clothes. Yes. Yeah, she did. Yeah. Yeah. But again, I mean, everybody's thinking is different, and I'm not, everybody can have their own thoughts. Like, my thoughts is when your kids get up in the morning, you don't know if they did throw some, take those clothes up, what if they put other clothes on, and you're in the whole hustle and bustle of concerned about trying to figure out where they are. And then that may take a little bit of time to go back and look and figure it out and go, okay, I think this might be what they have on. And that's how where my brain goes. And not saying that's so, I don't know, right? Because I keep saying at the end of the day, none of us know what happened. Yeah, we are all humans with different life experiences, exactly, and this can determine how we behave in a crisis. I 100% agree, and that makes me think of Belinda, who probably has a more of a realistic outlook because of her life of experiences. She's dealt with a lot of horrific death. If you didn't see that on Ninchies, catch it on Ninchies. She does a video about it, and you can see why Belinda would be more realistic in her thinking, right? Than the mother, right, of Lily and Jack, Malaya. You can definitely, for sure. Yeah. Okay. So again, speaking of, certain language, yes. Yeah, she's endured quite a bit, with loss. And of course, I mean, when we're talking about a fisherman, her husband, who's lost out at sea, and you're holding on to that hope, I can't imagine for how long, to the very bitter end, until, you have to confront reality. So, and then her brother and niece as well out to sea. So, having gone through that, and then having now this, I can see where your thoughts would be more realistic to the fact that Lily and Jack most likely are not with us. I can see that for sure. Okay. So let me just bring my notes up here, guys. Sorry. So the word hope. Parents of missing children holding on to hope. And my understanding with Malaya, and I could be wrong, but this is my understanding, is that she has stated she does not know what happened to Lily and Jack. And for any parent with a missing child, that is the horrifics of things. They don't know. So, when you don't have those concrete answers, what do you have? You have that hope to hold on to. And I wrote all this straight from my heart, putting myself in that position. And before I found these videos and pulled these videos together, and then listened to these videos I'm going to show you of mothers of missing children. And, I hit the nail right on the head with my thoughts. So, in that sense, not knowing what happened to Lily and Jack, I can see that she would also be holding on to hope that they are alive. I'm sure it's not that she's not considering anything else, and that's why she would be out searching. We know of this search. We don't know of other searches that she probably has been going out and doing. We have to remember Daniel's been charged with certain things now. We don't, we won't go into that. There's a ban on that and who the victim is and that. We won't go into it. But, we do know from the documents and what we read from media based on those documents and what, I had shown the documents myself, we did find out there was a situation of DV going on. And we have to remember him coming up behind her when she was at the trunk of the car, showing up at her grandmother's place, the whole phone call thing to scare her when she left her mother's and went to the reserve, all of that. And now a person in that position, again, and this is not I've never spoken to Malaya. These are just my thoughts, and with my experiences, training, where my thoughts go, that, a person in that position would feel more comfortable about certain things now that they probably didn't feel as comfortable with then due to certain risks that now, maybe depleted somewhat, where the RCMP have charged him with certain things. They're obviously watching him, and he's basically under their thumb right now. So that may change her mindset in certain things. So I'm just throwing that out there. But anyways, back to the word hope and holding on to hope. And, I'm sure that doesn't mean she's not considering other things. I'm sure it's harder to think of possibly other things, more so than it would be for like we said, someone who's had the life experiences like Belinda, who can be a little more realistic to things. So having said that, is it strange to think a mother would also be out searching and also holding on to hope that her children might still somehow come back to her? For me, it's not hard to believe that. When you as a parent do not have concrete answers, of course, you're going to hold on to hope while also facing possible realities of the situation. But hope would probably come first. It'd probably be very difficult to face the harsh realities of other things, So let's get into that. And I have, again, pulled some videos together of parents speaking. Seaman, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's quite an update, eh? Quite an update. And hello to everyone coming in. Leanne, Seaman, hello. Anyone who's come in that I missed, hello. So we'll pull those videos up. Again, those are from YouTube. I guess I already have YouTube up there. I just have to go to my history.
6-year-old Adam.
So this one, 4 mothers, 4 missing children, grief, heartache, and an urgent call for change. So you're going to hear a lot of the same language in these videos and that word hope. Now, this one's only a little bit over 9 minutes, so I will play the whole thing. The other ones, I have timestamps.
This was Stephen when he was born. He was 10 weeks early and he had tubes on him. I couldn't hold him for a while. So The day I got to hold him, that was a very special day.
For Mother's Day, he bought me a blender, which I still use to this day. And I've been told every time I use it, I mention his name.
Hi, Mom. That's one of his favourite things he'd say. And then me sort of saying, oh, where have you been? You know.
Patrice would wave goodbye to her sister and then couldn't wait for the school bus to come home in the evening so that she could play with Natasha and Natasha's friend.
My name is Julie Davis and I'm mother to Levi Davis.
I'm Marissa Tivey. I'm the mother of Alexander Slowly.
My name is Sharon Lee and I am the mother of Catrice Lee.
I'm Christine Durand, the mother of missing Stephen Durand.
I'd sent him a text message asking him if he'd
Sorry, guys. I was trying to type a happy face to Sue. I'll just say it now. Sure, Sue. I was going to type you a happy face, but I hit the wrong button there, as you can see. I'll have to bring that up again. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, sticky fingers.
but there wasn't any reply. People presume a lot of things that aren't. So, for example, with Levi, was involved in a gang, I think it was, and that wasn't the case. There's just a lot of misconception about who he was and what had happened. So, yeah, it's been hyped up quite a lot.
That year, 2008, was my 40th. His 17th birthday was coming up. So when he didn't turn up for his birthday on the 4th of August, it was alarming. Since Alex has disappeared, I look at other people, friends with their sons, and it just makes you wonder about yours. And that's when you feel that void where you had a son, you no longer have a son. So the whole motherhood, it's like a jigsaw where that piece is missing and you're looking at it every day and the picture's not complete. That's how my life feels. My picture's not completed.
The last conversation I had with Stephen was on the morning he went missing. He was at my daughter's in Chorley, and he'd been out, and he stayed at my daughter's, and he said he was going home. And that's the last time I spoke, because he didn't go home. Mum, I can hear his voice all the time. And I have bad dreams that people have got him and killed him or murdered him, and where's his body? And I dream that as he committed suicide, every possibility that you can think about goes in your head.
My daughter went missing in a foreign country, Germany. My husband was stationed there as a member of the British forces, and it was like the military police and the German police were playing ping pong with my daughter. The German police were saying, she's not one of ours, she's yours. Catrice had a hereditary defect in her left eye. Her elder sister Natasha suffered from it as well. It's a turn in the eye, and if it isn't corrected, the eye will just turn in and get worse and worse and worse. So therefore, Catrice would have needed those 2 operations the same as Natasha. Wherever she is in the world, she would have needed those 2 operations.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform made for anyone with.
Is he alive? Is he dead? Torture. It's probably the easiest way to describe it. I'd say it's worse than going through bereavement. At least with bereavement, you've got some kind of, like, closure is probably not the best word for it, because you never can kind of get over the loss of a loved one. But at least with someone who's died and you know the reasons why, but with someone who's gone missing, you're constantly grieving.
The hardest part is living every day, not knowing what's next.
I used to be bubbly, but I'm not bubbly at all now. I'm really angry, depressed. I get mad with the police. I get mad with everybody. My life it will never be the same again, because it can't be, because we were so close and he's my son, so it's bound to change, isn't it?
I've always thought that as a mother of a missing child, I have membership to a very select club. It's one that I didn't ask for, and one I certainly don't want. But anybody can become a member of that club. You don't ask to be in it. And no matter how old a person is when they go missing, whether they're a small child, a young adult, or an adult, at the end of the day, they are always someone's child. I can't describe to you the pain and the hurt that those families suffer. But they go on doing that. Until they finally have their answer.
What I'd like to say to anyone who's going through this experience is stay strong, don't give up.
Because they do find people after years and years, so there is some hope.
43 years on, I still haven't given up hope. And you shouldn't either. All the time you have hope, then your missing loved one will never be lost.
First of all, son, we love you, miss you dearly, and we are here. Please don't worry, because whatever problem or issue there is, we're here to help. And we look forward to having you home soon.
We all love you and miss you so much, and we want you back. And if anybody's out there that's got holding Stephen, let him go. Please let him come back. He needs his mum and his sisters and his family.
We've loved and missed you for 43 years, Catrice. And we've never given up hope of finding you. All we want is for you to come home.
I miss you every day, and I never thought that this would happen, and I'm so sorry. I just wish you could come home, just walk through that door. Just come home.
43 years on, I still haven't given up hope. And you shouldn't either. All the time you have hope, then your missing loved one will never be lost.
I wanted to play that part again. And like I said, the notes that I was reading there, I wrote those out of my own thoughts, putting myself in the situation of someone like Malaya or any parent. And then I found these videos. And when I heard her say that, I was like, yes, exactly. So I can see why a parent with a missing child who does not have those concrete answers is going to be searching and holding on to that hope also still that your child's going to come back to you. And again, I encourage you guys to go back and read that. It's in my video, one of my videos. Look it up. The letter from Malaya, and listen to the language in that letter and compare it to the language that we're listening to here in these parents speaking. Just the facts, ma'am. I have no idea about Mary. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. There's no such thing as closure ever. Not that there even is in the end, if the answers are bad, but, when that child is still missing. Yeah, a couple of them were younger there, and I think a couple of them were older kids, but there was two, like hers was younger, just little. Yeah. And I apologize. After we played Reve and John there, I meant to put Malaya's videos up there again of her. So comparing Reve in that video that you guys saw, and her primping herself and smiling, almost kind of cracked a bit of a joke there with the reporter about you have to pass the lamps to get to the arcade or whatever. Let us now. We'll go back to these videos. There's a couple more there I have. But let's take a look at Malaya's interviews again and look at her language. And keep in mind, the language. And we're going to show both videos because a lot of people didn't pick up on the other video where she actually says something she doesn't say in this video. Yeah. There's a commercial on this. I don't know why commercials are coming up on my YouTube videos either, because I pay for the premium package. There should be no videos coming up on that. But on the news one, I can't help that.
The whole time Lamb's here.
That guy is unbelievable.
He sure is.
Sullivan's Crossing. Stream now.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up. I heard them playing in the next room beside us. And I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them. And they happen to just get out that sliding door and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. And the next thing we knew, it was quiet and we get up and I tell him, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids? And he says, no. And we get up instantly. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911. I just had the instinct I needed to call. They're both really go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone. They're just extremely sweet kids. I appreciate the huge search effort going on right now. But we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued. Not just that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility that they could have been, but just an alert to let everyone know that they are missing. We had people text me saying that they weren't aware, someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's still uncertain. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found. We want them home. Everyone loves them. They are definitely verbal, and they do have possible autism, but it's not extreme autism. It's just they have issues with school, and they don't catch up with the other kids. I just want to remain hopeful. But there's always, in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds. And I don't want to go through that another night without them.
Sugar Plum, I closed out the wrong video. Just 1 second. I got to bring up the other video there. So comparing that to Reve Walsh, who we know had nothing to do with her son's disappearance, you know, imagine if Malaya had a cracked a smirk there and or was primping her clothing, you know, that would not have gone over well. Yeah.
Six-year-old Lily and four-year-old Jack Sullivan loved playing on the slide in their backyard. Now their mother, Maleha Brooks Murray, can barely look at it.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home.
It's been 4 days since police believe Lily and Jack wandered away from their home. Today, more than 120 people are searching on foot, by drone.
And does anybody notice, like when I watched that, to me, Malaya seemed very upset. The one thing from the very first time I watched Malaya's video was that the only thing that I picked up on was that she was hiding the fact about, you know, she was kind of like boasting the parenting style a little bit more than what it actually was, right? Like, we never let them outside on their own. And I was kind of like that she was a little bit fearful in that area for some reason. And then once we found out about CPS and there was already visit, then I thought, okay, well that's why. But that was the one thing I always picked up on. But in this video, the two shots that they show of her, this one and the other one, a lot of you may have not have seen because it got overlooked, and it's not in the other video. It actually was cut out. It's only in this video. But to me, she seems very upset.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them.
And there's that hope again.
And I want them home.
It's been 4 days since police believe Lily and Jack wandered away from their home. Today, more than 120 people are searching on foot, by drone, and from the air.
It has been a few days, but that has not dampened the hopes of the GSAR teams and the police who are here to try and get these kids home.
RCMP have been focusing on a 3.5-kilometer radius from where the children were last seen, but that search zone expanded today further into the thick woods.
There's teams and units from the RCMP who have a variety of different tasks to be completed. So there's work being done across all sorts of areas in order to collect the information needed to locate them.
RCMP says the weather has complicated the search, making visibility and terrain more difficult to navigate. They're tying ribbons like the ones you see behind me in the areas they've searched already, and they've added another helicopter to scan the area from above.
I just want to remain hopeful. But there's always, in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst.
All of it is a shock to the community.
It's not something that happens very often, and you're just hoping and praying they find them as soon as. They can.
With each hour, concern grows, and the search to find Lily and Jack becomes more urgent.
I miss them.
For now, the family holds on to the hope the children will be found and they'll be back playing in becomes more urgent.
I miss them.
For now, the family holds on to the hope the children will be found and they'll be back playing in their backyard once again. Hafsa RF CTV News, Lansdowne Station.
The mother of two missing young children is holding on to hope they'll be found.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to
Sorry, guys, I didn't realize I was muted. Yeah, it is heartbreaking. Very heartbreaking, devastating. And like I said, when I can look at that and I compare it to Reve, who we know did nothing wrong, and I'm not putting her down or anything, because as far as I'm concerned, she, in that video, was in shock. She was very detached in that video. Reve, she was detached. I mean, when you're smirking and kind of cracking a joke and primping your clothes and I mean, my heart breaks for her and her the way she demonstrated herself in that video and the way Malay is demonstrating herself in this video, both of them, my heart breaks. Because they're both suffering the same thing, but showing it in a different way. Yeah. So let's go back to the other videos here again and listen to the language of these parents discussing their missing children. And then we'll be done, guys. And I have timestamps for these. Just got to check my phone to where the timestamps are.
Kimberly McAndrew.
Okay, so this is the little girl I was speaking of earlier from Ontario who went missing, that her mother did the initial interview. And then they replayed that every anniversary. Again, she was not constantly speaking out to the public, publicly. But there's a spot here I want to go to where her father is talking. And again, let's listen to the language being used. 8:45.
Calling the police at about 3:30. Almost immediately, police set up some roadblocks to contain the area. But 4.5 hours had passed since Nicole had left the apartment when Jeanette discovered she was missing.
Oh, God.
She could have been anywhere by then, including Buffalo, New York, only an hour and 33 minutes away by car, or even Detroit, just 360 kilometers away.
Yeah, I'm getting anxiety and panic just hearing about this stuff.
I was a little concerned about doing this one with you.
It needs to be told. It's the same age as Olivia, so.
Yeah, I don't think she would ever go with anybody.
I had her watching some true crime the other day specifically to read.
No idea that her daughter had still not shown up and assumed that she had just arrived in the lobby. At 11:15 a.m., the intercom buzzed again. It was Jennifer. She was asking for Nicole as she had not showed up for their play date and she was feeling impatient. Jeanette was not very concerned at first. She had assumed the playful Nicole was just having fun riding the elevators, or maybe she'd taken the stairs.
Yeah.
Jennifer waited another half hour. Nicole had still not arrived, so she was tired of waiting and decided to go swimming by herself and just left.
Okay.
So 45 minutes have gone by.
Yeah.
Jeanette Moran had no idea that her daughter had still not shown. This guy was still laying low somewhere in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
He could be responsible for Nicole's disappearance 2 years later.
Yeah.
Dennis Melvin Howe is still on the run and on the RCMP's most wanted list. He would be in his late 70s today. And here's an interesting development in that particular individual. In 2008, a man calling himself Van Ringo and Van Giringo on other sites posted twice on an unsolvedcanada.ca thread about Howe. His post began with the words, "Sharon Morningstar Keenan, please remember that name." This man claimed he had employed Dennis Melvin Howe, a man he knew as Tommy Ross, in Boise, Idaho in 1998. The poster claimed he'd been watching America's Most Wanted that same year and called the number on the screen to turn Tommy in.
Okay, so I guess I got the timestamp wrong on that one. Sorry, folks. We'll move on to the next one. Just the facts, ma'am, says, I'm overdoing it today. I am, but you know what? I'm not up in the she room. I'm still on the couch with the heating pad around my back and shoulders. And it's like a lazy boy, and it has the lazy boy couch on either side. And And then when we had our little break there, I got up and stretched. Yeah, so that's why I'm able to tolerate this today. Otherwise, I would not be able to. Okay, so I got the timestamp wrong on that one. My apologies. Yeah, Magdalena. Agreed. Yeah. Yep, Olive. Agree. Yeah, just the facts. Yeah. Oh, I'd never be able to be on this long otherwise. No. And I'm almost considering just doing my lives down here from now on in this way. All right. So let's move on to the other one because somehow I got the timestamp wrong on this. Parents of missing children. Hopefully I get it right on this one. Maybe it's because I was looking at it on my tablet and I was time stamping it from there. Maybe they're all wrong.
Throw it out. I can throw it to the garbage. I always keep it. And in my mind, I say, when she's going to come back, we're going to eat it.
Hope has no expiry date. The public wants the families to turn the page and move forward. But these families hold on to hope. You've met Dolores. She held on to hope till the morning of May the 4th, 2011. But all hope was gone the minute the detective said, "We have found Jolene." It's a moment that in my life I will never forget.
I believed that she was going to come home.
So again, hope. It's over and over, and the language is so always the same, always the same, always. Now this is Kyron Horman, and you guys most likely remember this case. It's 15 years. Yeah, so there's a couple of parts in here as well. So they suspect that his stepmother, I was going to say mother-in-law, had something to do with his disappearance. And she supposedly dropped him off at school and he was never to be seen again. But lots of suspicious stuff there. So we'll just listen to these parts.
That definitely keeps me going. There's no definitive information that says that he isn't.
We talk about it all the time where it's just some days are rougher than others.
What keeps your hope alive after all these years?
Well, that there's no clear information that tells us one way or another, as far as whether he's still alive or not. To me, that definitely keeps me going. There's no definitive information that says that he isn't. And in my mind, we have to keep looking for him. We have to keep people's eyes and ears open when they're out and about. I think it's really important to keep that message going. And that's what motivates me. I think that they're still running down leads and they still have direction on the investigation. That they're still looking is also I think, a positive thing and very motivating as well. So I think without having more information that says that something is one way or another, and the fact that they haven't found him yet, I mean, I'm definitely motivated on all fronts because of all that.
What do you think happened to Kyron?
I mean, I feel like he was taken that day.
Sorry, guys. I hit the wrong button there. But that part was finished. I meant to stop it and go to the next part. And I accidentally took myself off screen.
They're not holding hands, but walking next to each other, going the same direction.
What is the message now?
I think it's the same. I think it's don't lose hope, don't give up. How many stories have we seen kids coming home 20 years later? Obviously, this is not a sprint, it's been a marathon, and I think it's going to continue to be, and hopefully it's resolved tomorrow. But until it is, we have to stay vigilant. We got to keep doing what we've been doing and say, don't give up and keep grinding. I can't think of another way.
What does closure look like for you?
Bringing them home. Bringing them home. And I don't know what...
And there we have it, guys. So, and another couple of things I want to point out as far as the language as well is them saying about believing in the investigators, and they're listening to the investigators and have trust and faith in them. And again, we've heard that from Aalia as well, Lilly&Jack Sullivan's mother. So again, similar language. And the other thing is Shan brought it up, so I'm not going to bring it up unless you guys want me to. I don't mind, because I do have it in Messenger ready to bring up. But it is the RCMP's process of it's basically the same as what is stated in the letter from Polly Klaas's mother about listening to investigators and not, being out there, the overexposure to not contaminate the investigation. And basically it's the RCMP's processes on that. And at the end of the day, they can't force anybody not to speak. But certainly if they're advising you to be careful and cautioning you that you don't want to contaminate an investigation. And it makes me think of what we discussed about the doll, because when it came out about that doll that Lily, they could never find and believe that Lily may have with her. And I did a video on that, and it was, I believe, accidentally stated when Cheryl had stated it on the news. And I show the news clip because it was out there. It's on the news. So it was already exposed of Cheryl stating that about the doll. And then everybody's, what doll? What are you talking about? And then, well, why, and people were upset. Well, why didn't, this come out? And my first thought was, oh gosh, that probably wasn't supposed to come out because there's those things they hold back. And then I went over all that. And so that's why the RCMP has that process of not wanting that overexposure and the investigation contaminated and things accidentally getting put out there. And you heard Polly Klaas's mother, who felt the need to explain that to the public, that's why she wasn't speaking publicly. So, we need to pay attention to all those things in the language and try to think outside of the box. Yeah, and I mean that's where my mind stands with everything. That's me. That's in my opinion. And just from watching cases for over the years, very long time. Again, pulling that information together to kind of educate myself again that, am I overlooking that? Is that odd that a mother's not out constantly speaking publicly? Or, and to me, it's not, it just kind of confirmed my thoughts on that. And yeah, and then again, when I was listening to those videos looking for other information, then I started hearing that language, and I was like, well, this is the same language we hear from Malaya. Those same words about her thoughts on the investigators, the hope. When you read her letter and you listen, compare it to what some of those mothers were saying, you'll hear the same thing, the same language being used. And I didn't expect, that's not what I was looking for, but it was just something else I came across, that I'm hearing the same language, as we hear from Malaya. Yeah. So anyways, guys, that is it for today. Let me put the poster up one more time. The search for Lilly&Jack Sullivan. Date not announced yet, but will be in the end of April. Somewhere in the end of April. I don't know the date, but it will be announced. We just know it's not at the beginning, it's not at the middle, but it's near the end of it. And there it is. So anyone interested, please. There is the information. And again, calling on all angels. You are needed. If you're able, physically, mentally capable, please sign up for the search for Lilly&Jack Sullivan. Ginger, my mod. I hate saying my mod. Our channel mod. Thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I will see you again, hopefully soon. Some of the crazies I've seen and the nasty way people are judged, I would never come to YouTube. My God, it's disgusting. Yeah. I'd like to say I think the same way, but I really don't. I don't. Just like, I think, oh my gosh, if anybody I ever loved went missing, I'd be right on to Shan, Daphne, Justin, Sunny, Shar. I'd be like, help me, please help me. Yeah. Best of luck to the upcoming searches. Hopefully even one clue will be found to move this case along. Yeah. Yeah. But I hear what you're saying, just the facts. I hear what you're saying, but sometimes you just have to bite your tongue and have faith in what the police are doing and know that you're doing the right thing by not being out there so publicly, and ignore the haters and the people judging, because it's for the sake of your children, right? But I hear you for sure. It would scare people off, and that's sad to hear someone saying that. So sad. Thank you, Gaspé Girl, for saying that. And you were already quiet and shy and in a situation of abuse. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like an introvert, right? Yeah. Oh, yes. Thank you for the support and positive vibes, everyone. You're all awesome. Absolutely. Thank you, Cool J. And thank you, Just the Facts Man. Candace. Leslie. Thank you. Anna, thank you. Gaspé Girl, thank you. Sue Oilers, thank you. You probably finished your supper by now, did you? Donna, thank you. Lots of love and positive vibe, guys. Take care. I will play a little bit of music on the way out and play and put up the posters. Okay? For all that are interested. Yes, Magdalena, I agree. Malaya is 28 or 29. I think she's that person that wrote that said she's in her 20s.